Welcome to Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. Thanks to Tone for tuning in. I'm Demi Michelle Schwartz, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on my songwriting journey. So kick back and relax, don't fall flat, and remember, stay right on track. Hey everyone, welcome back to Right on Track. I am delighted to be joined by my special guest today. He has played pedal steel on a few of my songs, so please welcome Jason Dunkle. Hey Jason.
Hi, Demi. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited you're here today. We are going to be chatting all things pedal steel. But before we get into all that, can you share a little about yourself and your background with music?
Yes, so I'm 42 years old, and I actually started playing guitar when I was 15. Took guitar lessons from a local jazz musician for about 6 years. Played in a lot of bands through my 20s and stuff, playing lead guitar, and then in 2013, I was playing in a country band, playing lead guitar, and we had a pedal steel player. And so he was the one that first introduced me to it and said, you should learn how to play this because there's not a lot of younger guys playing the instrument. So I think like 6 months later, I got my first pedal steel.
That's amazing. So, when you transitioned from playing guitar to pedal steel, was it an easy transition or was it difficult because pedal steel is quite different?
I mean, like physically, it was hard because, it's a very difficult instrument to play physically. But, learning the theory and all that, having already learned that on the guitar helped me to transition, to the pedal steel easier than had I never played an instrument in my life.
In that transition moment, like how long did it take you to go from the guitar to being good enough at pedal steel to play live and such?
Well, I've been playing pedal steel for about 10 years now. And if you ask most guys, they'll tell you pedal steel has about a 10-year learning curve. It's pretty hard instrument to play because, both hands and both feet are constantly doing something. They've compared it to flying a helicopter. And so I actually played for about 3 months and I just got so frustrated that I literally just stopped playing it for the next six
Oh,
months.
wow.
And then I had all my clothes piled on top of my steel guitar, and they're very expensive instruments. I mean, my first one was close to four thousand
Oh my
dollars.
gosh.
Yeah, and so I just one day I was looking at it and I was like, "That's a pretty expensive clothes rack there." And I said, "I better, either sell this thing or, get my money back or sit down and really take it serious." And that's when I just decided I was gonna completely just focus on it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And, like I play piano, and it was really funny because when my sister and I were young, my sister started playing piano before me, and my parents got her a keyboard because they're like, we're not investing in a piano unless you're serious about it. So she took lessons for a little bit and just never practiced. And it was clear that she wasn't going to invest time in piano. And so when I started piano, and they're like, "Yeah, she has a natural talent. Let's get her the piano." So I'm the one who got the piano. But yeah, it's really interesting to hear. Like, I mean, pedal steel definitely is a unique instrument, and I honestly think because it's so difficult to play and it takes so long to learn, I think that may be a contributing factor as to like why not a whole lot of people play it. But it's definitely an investment, and like knowing how terrible you are when you just start, but putting in the work and the time to get better for sure.
Yeah, I wanna give you a quick, quote from a
Yeah.
famous steel guitar player. His name was Curly Chalker, and he very, very awesome player. He passed away some years ago, but he said steel guitar is the illegitimate child of music, which I think is hilarious. Because it's not an instrument you see every day. And a lot of times when I've been out playing live and stuff, people didn't even know what it was. They
Yeah.
thought it was a keyboard, a sitar, like it's gotten all kinds of names. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, no, that's really funny because, like, I honestly didn't know what it was until a little bit before you actually started playing for me. Because when I started getting into country music, that's where I heard it a lot. And just listening to records, I would hear an instrument and I'm like, what's that? Like, I don't know what instrument that is. And it was funny because when I was talking to Luke, who does guitar and bass for me, when he told me you need to get pedal steel on your songs, it took me a second. I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what pedal steel is. So I definitely agree that it's not a widely known instrument for everybody.
I think it's starting to make a
I
comeback
definitely think
though.
so too. Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of younger guys now getting into it and learning it and stuff, and they still, even though country music today it's not as prominent as it was like back in the '90s and stuff. They're still using pedal steel on, almost like 90% of the songs in country music
Right.
still have pedal steel.
Hmm.
So I actually spent the first year and a half trying to just learn on my own or learn from YouTube videos or like different books and courses. And there's two different types of right hand technique for pedal steel. There's what's called palm blocking and pick blocking, and it's basically how you block the notes from ringing out. And a lot of the older guys, from back in the '60s and '70s and stuff, they played palm blocking, okay, which is where you hit the note with your pick and then you block it with the back of your hand, like with your palm. And that's it's a very good style to use, but that style was not working for me. And so I came across a guy named Travis Toy who played for Rascal Flats for 16 years, and he now plays for Luke Bryan. And he commented on a video I posted, and I was trying to learn how to do the pick blocking technique, which is more of a modern technique. And I wasn't doing it right. So then, he sends me a message or whatever with a video of him playing something like
Nuh-uh.
super
That's
fast.
so
And
cool.
I was like, whoa, I was like, you're really good. I had no idea he played for Rascal Flats or anything, but I just said, this guy is good. So I said, would you, think you could give me some lessons on Skype? And so he replied and said, yeah, I can give you some lessons. So
So
I
cool.
started taking lessons with Travis in like May of 2015. And I think I took lessons with him for like 3 years on Skype. And it was like usually once, maybe twice a month, we were doing lessons. And I recorded them all so that I can, go back and watch them again and stuff. And I'll tell you what, I learned so much from him. He really helped me, get my right hand going. And then I think like from there, after I started taking lessons with him, there's another guy named Doug Jernigan who's in the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame. He's in his 70s, and if you ask anybody in the pedal steel community, Doug Jernigan, they know who he is. I mean, he's played on tons of records, and he also made playing like bluegrass style on the pedal steel popular. He plays like really fast licks and stuff. So, he had like a different style and I liked his style too. So I actually was taking lessons from him at the same time as I was with Travis. So both of those guys really taught me a lot. And then in 2016, I had a chance to go to a Vince Gill concert in Ohio. And his steel guitar player is Paul Franklin. Okay, now Paul Franklin is the best in the world right now. Okay, now Buddy Emmons was the best that ever played the steel guitar, but Buddy Emmons passed away in 2015. But Paul Franklin has played on over 40,000 records, and he also toured with Dire Straits back in the '90s. And so he's like my favorite player, and I really wanted to meet him and get some advice from him. So somebody gave me his home number, and I
What?
yeah, I know. I called and left him a message, and he wouldn't respond. I think I called him like 3 times. I was like really like persistent. I was like, I gotta meet him. And here on my way to the Vince Gill show, he still hadn't reached out to me yet. So I was like, I guess I'm not gonna get to meet him, but I'm still going to the show. Well, he calls me as I'm on my way to the show, and he was like, "Hey, I can meet up with you. I just didn't wasn't sure if I could until the day of the show, you know what I mean?" So he didn't want to tell me no or say yeah and then not be able to meet me. So I get to the show there, and he comes out, greets me, really nice guy. And we go inside the theater and just sat there and talked about pedal steel. He watched a couple of my YouTube videos and, kind of critiqued my playing. And then he takes me backstage. I got to meet Vince Gill.
Oh, nuh-uh.
Yeah. Now this was actually after the show. I got to meet Vince. And when Vince came up to me, he goes, "I heard you're getting pretty good on that steel guitar." And I was like, "What? I play steel guitar?" So obviously Paul was telling him about me. And this was the first time I met Paul Franklin and Vince Gill. And like, they were just so generous with their time and everything. I mean, like two of the nicest guys in the business.
Yeah.
And so after that night, well, Paul told me he was coming out with some new instructional course online called the Paul Franklin Method. It was going to be like a subscription based pedal steel course. And nobody at the time was doing anything like this, for pedal steel. So he actually let me be the first to sign up for his course, which was awesome. And then I was mentored by him for 2 or 3 years, and like he used to call me and we talk on the phone for like 4 hours, and he texts me all the time, and I ended up meeting him like a couple other times, and also got to meet Vince Gill again, and so Paul really helped me a lot with my playing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my goodness, you got to meet and be mentored by so many incredible people. And I think a huge takeaway is that when people think these big celebrities are like, oh, they're the best and they don't care about us little people, no, like they genuinely do care if you find the right ones, and you definitely did. So that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I really feel like pedal steel has just opened up so many doors for me. Now I can't say that I have like a ton of live experience with it. I mean, I played in a band called Rough Creek for a couple years, and played with a couple other bands. But since COVID, I haven't really played in any bands. I actually started getting into recording. And so that's really where I've been focusing all my attention, is trying to get more recording work.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you are sent a song like mine, for example, or another artist, what is your process of getting that song, listening to it, to finally recording something and actually composing what to play for the track?
Yeah, so I mean, normally all the people that I've worked with have just let me pretty much play whatever I wanted to play, and if there was something specific they wanted in the song, I would try to do that. So I like that I can just kind of be creative and do my own thing. So normally, I put the song into my software. I use PreSonus Studio One, and I just have a little small setup here. I have a MacBook Pro and some studio monitors and a Focusrite Scarlett, audio interface. So, once I put the song in there, I kind of listen to it and get a feel for it, and maybe, play through it a couple times just to get used to the chord changes and all that. And then I just start recording. I just start, playing around with ideas and stuff. And then usually I'll record 2 or 3 different passes through the song, try to, maybe do one pass that's just chords, and then maybe something with some single string stuff, or some fills in the empty spaces. And that way they have like things to choose from.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I really like when artists give musicians the freedom to do what they want. And that's how I am. Like every time I have a musician play for me. Like guitar, I'm a little more direct with like reference tracks and like what I'm hearing, but when it comes to like pedal steel or like Brett McCutcheon played saxophone on one of my songs, and in those instances, I'm like, yeah, just do whatever you feel because everyone who is playing on my music in particular, like you all are skilled musicians, and so I don't feel like I have the right necessarily to restrict the creativity. And I also love how you do give a variety. Like I remember when I was at my one session and you recorded For If I Die Young, I was at the session when you sent Bob the files and it was nuts because we were in the middle of like recording a song and he's like, oh yeah, Jason just sent the pedal steel. I'm like, nah. So I got to like go through with him and we were comping things and picking and choosing. And so I think it's awesome how you're giving yourself the freedom and the artists are giving you the freedom to do what you think fits, but you're also giving options too.
Well, it's interesting that, you and I connected through Bob because Bob was actually the first person to give me an opportunity to record pedal steel. And I played for Bradley Scott Malone, if you know him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's an artist
Uh-huh.
on the Vault Recording. And I actually, went over there to the studio and recorded. And I was so nervous because I'd never recorded pedal steel before, and now I'm in this really awesome
The
studio, and
vault's the
like,
best.
yeah, and all these people are in the control room, like, watching, and I'm, like, so nervous because I'm like, "I don't wanna screw up, I don't wanna make a mistake," or, like, "What if I have to keep, you know
Yeah.
doing, like, multiple takes?" But, I recorded 6 songs, it went really good. I like, again, I felt a little out of my element, and then that was the only time that I actually went into a studio and recorded pedal steel. All the other recordings I've done from home, which I definitely feel more comfortable with because I'm by myself and I can just focus on what I got to do, and I don't have anybody else like watching me and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, he gave me that good opportunity. I felt like, that really opened the doors for me in recording because up till that point, I didn't feel like I was ready or good enough to play on recordings. I was still really trying to I mean, I was practicing 5, 6 hours a day for a
Yeah.
long time.
Mhm. Well, that's amazing. Bob is the best, so I'm not surprised that he gave you the opportunity to do that. But no, I completely agree with the feeling out of your element thing. When I first started recording, I was like so nervous, and especially like my earliest songs that I never even ended up releasing that are just like in demo form. Like you can tell I was like out of my element because my vocal delivery wasn't there, and it just like wasn't the best thing. And so it's definitely something you have to get used to now. Like the vault is my second home and I'm going back again soon. Yay, yay. But I definitely understand your point of like recording at home because you have the freedom, you're not under pressure, no one's watching you, and you're able to like take the time that you need versus in the studio when you know like a musician or an artist is paying for studio time, like you're part of that. So I understand the whole thing of, "Oh, I don't wanna take 5 hours to play this because I'm wasting their time and wasting their money," so it's definitely a difficult thing, like, in the studio, but I'm happy that you and I work remotely, so you're able to have that creative freedom.
But, I have a whole new respect for all these Nashville recording
Yeah.
musicians because, I mean, they have to go in there and nail it almost in, like, one take,
Yeah.
They don't have time to sit around and play around with ideas and,
Mhm.
think about it, and so, that and they gotta read those charts and stuff, and, like, I've never really tried to, like, read Nashville number charts or anything, that's just not how I was ever trained as a musician.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the number system and stuff, but
Right.
if you showed me one of them charts, I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, it's just your background too, like, growing up with piano, like, I grew up reading actual sheet music, not looking at number
Yeah.
charts, so, yeah.
Yeah, like with steel guitar, like a lot of people, you're probably familiar with tablature,
Right,
like
right.
guitar
Yeah, yeah.
tablature. So a lot of people write tablature out for steel guitar, which is I use that a lot. But
Mhm.
anyways, back to the recording thing. So in 2016, I thought I would start my own. sort of fan page for steel guitar, and just called Jason Dunkle dash steel guitar, and I think I have like 700 followers
Oh,
now or
wow.
something. And so I started trying to just post videos on there and grow a following, and then it's funny because I've actually gotten recording work from people finding me on Facebook, and through that page. And so the first time was a guy from Finland contacted me and he wanted me to play on his album. And like he just found me on my Facebook page,
That's amazing.
And so I played on his album and he actually just sent me 5 CDs. I haven't received them yet, but he just sent them to me because the album, came out not too long ago. And so really, really cool. It's all in English, you know what I mean? He sings in
Mhm.
English and all that stuff, but it's like country music and stuff. So I played on his album, and then he came to Pittsburgh last year for a business trip, and I got to meet him in person, which was
No,
awesome.
that's so
Yeah,
cool.
so it was cool. So like, connected with him and made friends with him and stuff. And then same thing happened to me again last year. A guy from Austin, Texas, found me on Facebook, and he liked my style and wanted me to play on his album. You never know what it's gonna be or if it's
Right.
gonna turn into anything, but I was like, okay. Well, here it's a band called Radio Company, and it's him and his name is Steve Carlson, and then he's got another guy that he started this group with, and his name is Jensen Ackles. And I just found out recently that this Jensen guy is a famous actor who plays in the show Supernatural.
What?
Yeah. And so I guess they were both living out in LA together and as roommates, and they started radio company and they started writing songs. And then now they both live in Texas. I know Steve lives in Austin, and so I played on this album. I think I played on all the tracks except for like 3 tracks or something. And the album came out back in April, and it's on vinyl. And so he sent me a copy of the vinyl record, which is cool, and
Yeah.
my name's on the back of it. So I'm like, that's really cool. Like it's the first record that I played on that I actually have a physical copy of the record, you know.
Aw, love it.
And so Radio Company, they have a lot of followers on Instagram, and they actually did a show back in December in Nashville. And Steve has a lot of connections in the music industry. So I'm trying to stick with these guys. I've already recorded 2 songs for their next album.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. I love how they sent you stuff. I didn't send you my EP you played on, so I gotta do that with your name's on the
Yeah,
back
yeah,
too.
yeah, definitely. That'd be cool.
But that's so cool. It's amazing that you've made so many incredible connections. You were able to get mentored by amazing pedal steel players, and then now you're recording on so many incredible albums and songs. I think it's amazing because you definitely put in the work and you dedicated time to learning how to play it. And I think this is a great example of you busting your butt and it's paying off. So that's amazing. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. Well, it is very hard, but it's fun. I mean, I hardly even play my regular guitar anymore now because I'm so focused on this,
Yeah.
and it's just so much fun because like you got pedals on the floor, you got knee levers, like you got a volume pedal, you got to use the bar to slide across the strings, and you got to wear finger picks. Like I said, it's like everything's going at once,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of coordination. But you have to practice everything really slow first, and that's one thing I've learned. Like people that want to learn like solos or anything that are fast, like they try to learn them like as the speed that they're on, and you have to slow things down. You have to crawl before you can walk,
Yeah.
you know.
Uh-huh.
And so I consider myself, I'm still a learner, even though I feel like I've advanced pretty fast, maybe faster than a lot of guys. I've had a lot of help and instruction, but I've also put in the time too.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I'm totally resonating with the practicing slow thing because, oh my goodness, like when I was in high school and like even in college, even like when I started to play like really complex piano pieces, I was like, well, the tempo is like 120 tempo. Like I want to play at that speed. And it's like all these scales and arpeggios, and my teachers and professors were like, no, you literally got to slow this down, practice at 90. I'm like, no, but it's 120 tempo. And like I was always the one who wanted to play it quickly and got impatient with myself, but you really do have to practice things slowly.
Yeah, and especially with pedal steel because, I don't know if you knew, pedal steel has 10 strings on it.
Yeah.
So, regular guitar has 6 and you got, 10 strings, plus you got all these pedals on the floor, and your volume pedal. There's just so much technique you gotta learn with everything, and it's a lot to learn at once, and so that's why it's best to just focus on a couple things at a time, and Paul Franklin gave me great advice when I met him, and he said, turn off the backing track that you're playing along with and just play along with a metronome so that you can hear yourself and
Absolutely.
hear your mistakes and hear, what you got to work on and also slow it way down. And that's how he practices too.
Yeah. The metronome is so important. Honestly, like any musician, it's so essential. And especially when you get into studio recording, you gotta practice with a metronome and play to it accurately.
Oh, definitely. And so actually, I've owned, I think, 5 pedal steel guitars now because I got carried away there for a while. I think I had 3 at one time. I was just buying them left and right.
Cha-ching,
And like
cha-ching.
yeah, I was doing pretty good at the time, and so I was like, oh well, I need one for up in my room. I need one in the case for just when I do gigs because these suckers are heavy to carry,
Yeah.
and you got to carry them down 3 flights of steps. It's not fun. But I was playing mostly just to play a single neck pedal steel, okay? But then in 2018, I wanted to get a double neck because I wanted to learn the C6 tuning, okay, which is the back neck. The front neck is E9 tuning, which is more your modern music, country music, and stuff. The back neck is more for playing that Western swing music or Hawaiian music. When you hear like that old Hawaiian sound steel guitar, that originated from the C6 tuning. And so lately I've been getting back into the C6 tuning and trying to learn it. And even though I already know how to play pedal steel, it's like learning a whole new instrument because you're learning a new tuning.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so like it's like starting back from the beginning, really.
Well, you've definitely come so far since you started, and why don't you play some pedal steel for us?
All right. I actually had a couple things that I wanted to demonstrate for you. The first thing I was going to play is just sort of a little swingy type thing that maybe you're more used to hearing on pedal steel, and then the second thing I was going to do is more of like a traditional country sound.
Perfect. All right, let's hear it.
All right, here we go. All right, so there you go. How do you like that?
That was amazing. Your talent definitely shows, and I think it's incredible that you were able to demonstrate that because it never crossed my mind for you to do that. So when you suggested doing it, that was incredible. So loved it. I loved it.
Well, thank you. I think it's good for people to get used to the sound, and I think we need more pedal steel in music today, not just country. I mean, you can play pedal steel on any kind of music, pop music, jazz, R&B, anything really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what advice would you give to anyone who is interested in playing pedal steel?
I would just say, take your time. Don't give up. Don't get frustrated. Try to, find a good instructor or a good online pedal steel course. There's many available now online with Patreon and things like. And YouTube's a huge tool. And just take your time and practice every day.
Yes, practicing is so, so important. So, I just have one more question for you. With everything that you've done with pedal steel, do you have a favorite memory?
Oh wow,
Other
favorite
than the
memory.
ones you mentioned so far.
Yeah, you know what? Back in 2019, I was playing in a band called Jordan McLaughlin in the Fourth Hour, who is a singer-songwriter from Beaver County, and we had an opportunity to play over there at Jurgles in Warrendale, PA, which is a huge music venue. A lot of national acts play there and stuff. And I only got in this band through Craigslist. Okay. And I believe the other members of the band also met him through Craigslist. And so he just sent us a CD with some songs, original songs of his, and said, learn these songs. We had this was our third gig at Jurgles that we did together, and we never rehearsed once.
What?
And never. And we opened up for Frank Foster, who is an up and coming country artist. He's kind of doing his own thing. Think he has his own label and stuff. And the show was sold out. And we're opening up for this guy, and the whole place is packed. I mean, clear up to the front of the stage, and everybody's looking at my pedal steel because it's got a sparkly finish and it's like real shiny, and everybody's like checking it out, looking at it. And then, when I get up, I was so nervous up until I got up on the stage. And then I was like, oh, this is cool. And so we played our show, and I mean, everybody was looking at me. It was like the steel guitar just really like stood out. And we did such a good job. And there's videos on YouTube of it. I can send you one. That just was a great memory for me. I mean, just performing in front of that crowd, like I want to feel that again, you
Yeah,
know?
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, hopefully you do get that opportunity, and it was absolutely amazing having you on the show. It was awesome chatting with you. Can you share with everybody where they can find you online and check out all that you do with pedal steel?
Yeah, well, if you're looking for a good pedal steel, I play Mullen pedal steel guitars, Mullen, and they're located in Colorado. So, they have models that are, more towards like beginners, you know what I mean, that are less expensive. Also, if you're looking for instruction, there's the Paul Franklin method, Travis Toy tutorials, or if you go on to Patreon, Doug Jernigan also has videos on there.
Awesome. And what about for you, like your work?
Oh, for me, well, you can find me on Facebook, Jason Dunkle dash Steel Guitar.
Awesome. And how about your YouTube channel too?
Yeah, it's just Jason Dunkle, just my name.
Awesome. Well, it was lovely having you on the show. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this chat all about pedal steel with Jason Dunkle. And of course, until next time, stay
Stay
right
right
on
on
track.
track.